So we're continuing with our America to Korea coverage. This is episode 10. This is the remaining trainees from the star quality test evaluation. There's four left. We'll just get right into it. So, first one up is Lexi. Now, Lexi, she's doing a ballet piece. If you guys know about JYP, he loves ballet. If you've seen the show 16, which is where Twice was formed, you guys will remember Mina basically, you know, blowing away JYP. And so we know that he loves it. Now, when it gets to her performance, oh, by the way, I wanted to correct. I put it in the comments before the show went live, but Misha, she didn't do a ballet piece. She did a contemporary dance piece, and so I just wanted to correct that before moving forward. But anyways, uh, when Lexi performed, I thought she was very nice and graceful. I noticed that her spins were very clean, and you could basically just like look at the footwork and see how precise and exact it was. Later on, she actually does a costume change, and she does a pop during the change, and it's like a ballet-ified version of pop. Now, recently, the best version of pop I've seen was probably if you guys go to Mnet's YouTube page, they've been putting up clips from Queendom Puzzle, and so there's this girl named Jihan from the group Weekly, and she did a cover of pop, which I thought was really good. But in this case, Lexi's doing some kind of ballet version of the choreo for pop, and I thought it was good too. Now, JYP, he basically said that she's amazing. She chose his favorite song, Giselle, favorite piece, Giselle, to perform. And later on, he would say that adding pop on top of that, was also a smart move. And he just basically commented that she understands how movements should feel like. And so he obviously praised her. She got a star quality stone, and that brings her up to 2 stones total out of the 4 that we know about. The next person up was Gina. Now, Gina, she came out, they put this TV for her and a desk, and she was dressed kind of semi professionally. And what we find out she's going to do is report the news, but it's not any kind of news. It's like some kind of version of kind of covering her journey about how she kind of grew to love music and dance, I guess, and and K-pop and wanting to do this. Uh, Now, needless to say, uh, I feel like this segment was actually a lot longer than they showed, because there are many times when I felt like she was summarized, but it could have been that they were kind of cutting between her standing and her sitting as a field reporter to a in studio reporter. And so, but it still gave the effect that she was being kind of cut off and summarized. And so, I'm not sure if that was a beneficial edit for her. It was more like a time saving edit. But they should have shown at least once her kind of like hurrying back to sit down, because I feel like that would have been like way cuter if they actually did that, because it would have showed how like funny it was. But the real funny part was basically her interrupting her program to do a kind of water commercial. And something I thought about while she was doing this in general was that she started to remind me of, like, I don't know if this it's the mom from The Shining. There's a horror movie called The Shining. She just kind of like suddenly I was like, this reminds me of the mom from The Shining, and I'm not really sure why that is. Maybe the way she looks, but I'm just getting that vibe. Uh, and something I also noticed is that a lot of people were listening to her, fellow trainees, and it seemed like some of them were kind of unsure what she was saying in the foreign language, but overall their opinion was that it was cute. And so JYP basically, he said of her that he really didn't say much at all, but he did mention that her skill in speaking multiple languages is pivotal to the success of a group which is becoming more global. And I thought that was kind of like a weird technical answer for star quality, because to me, star quality is X factor. And so you're kind of looking at the things that make someone stand out, maybe on a kind of like intuitive level where you can feel it, that makes them a star above other people. But I guess he's kind of like expanded his definition there a little bit. And basically, that's all he said about her, is that you'll get this stone because you can speak multiple language and speak to our fans. And so, I mean, he could have spun it a little bit more romantically by saying, hey, and you could speak to our fans and you could really reach them in another country or something. Like, he could have said something like that, and how she does it regardless of the language speaking in, is that she's connecting with them. Now, if they said that, just like, despite your language barrier, everyone understood what you were doing, like, that would have been a different way to look at it. But he just said it kind of like so technically that I was kind of like, yeah, so I guess if you speak multiple languages, you can be in a K-pop group. But I'm sure that maybe it was lost in translation. No pun intended. So the next one is Kaylee. She's doing the Taekwondo plus dance, and she basically says that it made her active as a kid, and well, she still is a kid, but it helped her get balance and speed. And so, in the actual performance, I've noted that she definitely has balance, and she was able to do a lot of interesting moves even without momentum. And then she also did the splits. And so my thought was that, hey, their little baby doesn't need defending at all. And then later on, she brings out these warheads, which is probably the more interesting part of her performance. And these are like super sour candies. And she basically asked JYP if he wants to try it. I thought she was gonna hand them out to everybody, and so I was kind of like wondering if that was gonna happen. Everyone's gonna make these kind of scrunched up faces, but no one did. So she asked JYP to try, and he's resistant at first. Actually, he didn't want to do it. He was scared, but then he eventually did do it. He was like he understood. He winced a few times while he was trying to down that lemon warhead, and everyone was especially worried for him that he was taking the lemon one. But his comments about her was that she was basically born to be a K-pop star, and that more importantly than that, she has drive and focus. And so, I guess he really liked her this time around. And now we know that Kaylee now has a full 3 stones out of the 3 that are currently available, and we know that retroactively she got a vocal stone later on, based on just like final thoughts from him and the judges. So we're going to the next one now, and the last one, definitely not least, Melissa. Now Melissa, she sang an original song, which she wrote at 13, and so that was 4 years ago. And basically, the backstory on that is that her dad is estranged from her, and a lot of the friends on this show seem to be sad on her behalf. Savannah looked sad while she was speaking. Now, I feel like if she lacked a second parent, that would severely affect the ability for a creative person to like do things like go to recital, or like one parent has to take time off work, you have to like be brought to certain places to do things, or even in this case, I think she has to go to Korea, so you have to be accompanied by a guardian if you're like underage. And so I feel like it's definitely a challenge for her, and I can see how it would be like very difficult. Her original song, was actually not bad for like someone writing it at the age of 13. When she sung, I was very moved by it, and I couldn't help but imagine like a situation like I don't have any children of my own, but I do have 4 nieces and I have a nephew, and I couldn't imagine a situation if they were kind of like if they were so abandoned and lost that they were forced to deal with these kind of emotions and the complexity of that, and what it means, like why, like how you take that on personally, even if it really doesn't have to do with you, it has to do with them. And JYP, similarly, his comments were that he was amazed and uncomfortable because he also had to imagine his own daughters, and how like to him it was like a powerful moment. He and he did make a comment later on that kind of like I kind of had to think about again, because he says he couldn't imagine a K-pop artist doing it. Now I'm not sure what he means by that. I think maybe he means like the mainstream, like top performing K-pop artists, because on this channel I make it a point to really look at like the indie people with like sometimes they have 200 views, sometimes they have 4,000 views, and sometimes they go all the way up to 25 million or 40 million, 60 million, 100 million, and so like I look at the whole range of it, and there are definitely a lot of K-pop artists in the lower viewing ends that perform really emotional, strong pieces like this, right? Yeah, Yeon Bake and stuff, or like other people. Like you just have to look for them, and you have to be open to looking at the kind of like the Nugu group people, and the solo artists who are no longer like, I guess, according to their companies, they're not as marketable and they don't sell as many records. They basically just are passion projects for these companies or people to like they hope they can be big, but it's not very likely. Everyone's looking for the young, hot, new thing, right? And so made me wonder, like, if JYP is thinking this, does he really believe it, or is it the case that Korea lacks some kind of depth, either in its appreciation of pain, or maybe they don't personally feel a lot of, like, maybe Korean society is so nationalist that a lot of people are kind of like adopting each other in that way, and they don't really feel the idea of absent parents, you know, or that maybe the shame is so high that the people just wouldn't do it. They just take up the challenge. But anyways, that was my thoughts about it, and that basically rounds up all of them. There's not a single person who did not get a star quality stone, and then I was waiting on him to rank everyone from 1 to 11, but he didn't do that. He actually gave a top 5 ranking, and then he also handed out special pins. And so uh, after these girls had to like little break, and he came out, and he got to show this. There was this section here where he shows like everyone can get one of these special pins. And so what happened is that he chose a top 5. Yuna made the top 5. She was number 5. Lexi got number 4. Savannah got 3. Kendall got number 2. And Melissa got number 1. Now, when this happened, I noticed when I looked over at YouTube live chat that a lot of people were like wondering, why didn't Camilla get recognition? And I feel like these pins were kind of a weird thing to put out. And it almost seems like JYP was almost anticipating that there wasn't a single person who wouldn't get the star quality pin or star quality stone. And that would be why you need this kind of like extra ranking system, just to kind of like, I don't know if it's causing drama. Because it's the first time that people can get like in a ranking, and then like there are some people who have never been ranked. Like, for example, Misha has never been ranked in this show. And so she could have at least got like even like last place and see where she stands. But he chose not to go with that route. And so there's no bingo. I thought I was gonna have a bingo for girl telling a sob story, but apparently I don't have that square in my bingo card. It's on my Neezy project card, and it's on my Queendom cards, and all the other Mnet cards, but it's not here. And so this is our final current roster with stones. And so we got the 1-star pins here with Melissa. We got the two star quality pin with Kendall, and all those are there. And then we got the people who was everyone basically who got the star quality stone. And then now we know who is currently holding 3 stones. And so we have Gina, Kaylee, Kendall, KG, and Camilla. Those 5 girls are holding 3 stones, which is the most stones that people are holding right now. And then we have to remember that Kaylee retroactively got the vocal stone. And so it seems like so far these 5 are a pretty strong group of contenders. But I feel like even if they technically got these stones, like not all of them are kind of like the people are really interested in. I know that people are very much interested in Savannah and Lexi, Christina, and Yuna, you know, and Melissa especially. Like, and some of these people only have 1 stone. Like Misha and Yuna are sitting on 1 stone, but people are definitely interested. And you know, to some degree, people may even be like, even though people really appreciate Camilla, a lot of people have been knocking on KG Crown in the YouTube chat for, I'm not really sure why. It seems to be something to do with kind of like there's this like certain sensibilities that have kind of come into play in the last 20 years, and it's kind of like it's an ideology that's kind of like creeped into like the what's the right word here, the human psyche of certain types of people. And so she's like offending certain types of people. And then there's also Kendall, who people are saying is kind of like she's coasting a bit, but I feel like she kind of earned her place already. And then you got Kaylee, who people are kind of watching out for because she's the baby. And then there's Gina, that people kind of like because she's kind of like the expected person who should get through as a JYP trainee. And so there's an interesting thing here, because Kaylee, Gina, KG, Kendall, those 4, they have a pretense to them, like a preconception, and they're kind of like archetypes. And it shows that those archetypes are so strong that it kind of guarantees some level of success in these kind of shows. Camila, I would say, is one of the more legitimate, and even then, she was like formally kind of like famous being on The Voice. So there's kind of like a proven thing here that these guys have. They have qualities to them that which are kind of like a given, right? So people are interested in the underdogs, kind of coming out of nowhere. People are like Yuna, she never got a stone until now, and people are just waiting for her to prove it, right? Like everyone had like a hunch about her, and they're waiting for her to prove it. Now she's a top 5 in the star quality realm, right? And then over here you have Lexi, and who's like basically from day one of the top, if not the top, most desired contender to be in the group from pretty much most of the fandom, I would say, of A2K. And then Melissa, one of the more proven vocal elements. You know, I mean, none of these guys have all stones, but there's way more interest, and that interest, I think, is carrying the show a lot stronger than for a lot of people, right? And then Misha is now basically like Misha and Yuna are the underdogs. We'll see where it goes, but anyways, I guess that's it. Not a lot more to say about it, but it'd be nice if they could all make it. I mean, an 11-person group is pretty interesting, I think. But who knows? I don't know why they would. I feel like they should all have a chance, honestly, to go to Korea and really train, because that would be the real test to see what happens after getting that chance and then being trained. We'll see. But anyways, I guess that's it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. And let us know why in the comment box down below. Also, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, and then I'll see you in the next video.